All right, we're going to take a look at Tiger Woods' driver swing face on using our Sportsbox 3D golf swing analyzer. On the left-hand side, I've got Tiger in 2D. Got a few lines drawn here to help us get a good visual of his pivot and some of his other positions in the golf swing. On the on the right-hand side, I've got our 3D golf image of Tiger Woods that we can see here. Got some lines to help us better see his centeredness of his pivot, head positions, shoulders, hips, and knees. So let's get started. On the right-hand side, we have four numbers that I like to see. What I see often in good ball strikers and ball strikers that generate a lot of power, using the ground and specifically the legs in the golf swing. So the four numbers are pelvis sway, pelvis lift, head lift, and head sway. The two sway numbers, pelvis and head, are on the horizontal axis, meaning left and right. If he sways to our left or his right, it is a negative number. And if he sways towards the target or our right, it's a positive number. Pelvis lift and head lift are on the vertical axis. If he raises his head, it will be a positive number. And if he lowers his head or pelvis, it would be a negative number from his initial position at address. So right now, we're just slightly into the backswing, just kind of where our video starts. And we got all zeros. So let's get into his P2, or just into the takeaway. You can see here, most of our numbers are very small. Tiger has a very aesthetically pleasing golf swing, and these numbers can attest to that. Very centered pivot, very good positions in his golf swing here. Head has not moved, neither has his pelvis. So we will progress into what we call P4, the top of his golf swing. Again, head is still pretty centered. It is swayed 2.1 inches to his right or our left, and we can see it kind of come off that purple line. His head has dropped below that purple line about 2.5 inches, as we can see visually, and our 3D shows over here on the right hand side. His pelvis has also dropped 1.5 inches, so Tiger kind of squats a little bit into that backswing and really turns into that right hip, and we have 0.1 inches of pelvis sway, so almost no pelvis sway at all. As we return back to shaft parallel on the downswing, we've seen now in the pelvis sway, that is our biggest number and most important number that I see in players that generate a lot of power, but most importantly, hit the ball very solidly. Pelvis sway towards the target in the downstroke. Tiger moves his pelvis 5.1 inches towards the target from his original pelvis position. So now we can see that his left hip is up against that purple line. His pelvis is still pretty level in regards to its original position, so he hasn't dropped his pelvis much, but his head has dropped 4.3 inches down. Tiger is well known for that head drop, and again, as I spoke about in the beginning of this video, but a power generator, because as we're going to see, Tiger starts to lower his head down into impact. We can see some of the sway as it starts to move from the top, and then he starts to move aggressively into that front side. We'll show you the pelvis sway here. Open that up. We can see from the top of the backswing, he has basically stayed center, and then immediately into the downstroke, he moves 5.1 inches towards the target. So just a little better visual or step by step in that process. Again, as the head drops down, we are progressing into impact. His head is lowered about 5 inches. It is swayed 6.4 inches forward. I see most tour players, and we can pull that pelvis sway up again, but as we progress into impact, most tour players move anywhere from 2 to 6, even 7 or 8 inches finally at impact towards the target from the original setup positions with the driver. Same types of numbers with irons, maybe not quite as aggressive, but still that important pelvis sway towards the target to help you hit the ball first and hit the ball solidly. Finally, into shaft parallel on the follow through. Head still remains down as his arms are passing the body. His lower body is still progressing forward, 6.7 inches on that pelvis sway. And then finally, everything starts to get pulled up and around, and head, pelvis are pulled up and around by the arms and the vertical push off of the ground by his front leg. Again, very powerful golf swing, very common. That pelvis sway. Most of you watching this probably don't have access to 3D. So if you're looking at yourself wondering, how can I be more like Tiger? How can I use the ground? And how can I kind of keep track of it? What you're going to want to do, I'll delete this front line, okay? So what we can look at, if you look at that bush in the background, okay, you can see not quite half of that bush, but a good amount of that bush in the background at address. Now, as he approaches into impact, so right, we're at the top of the swing, we can see a good amount of that bush. Again, we've moved 5.1 inches towards the target. What you're going to want to do as you're taking 2D slow motion video is you're going to find something in the background to kind of match up against your left hip. And then as you work into the downstroke and get to about shaft parallel, you want to see that on the target side, whatever that object is, you want to start to see it disappear, start to see your left hip, your upper body start to cover that object in the background. And then as we progress into impact, we continue. Now we've moved 6.4 inches towards the target with our pelvis in regards to the position at the top for Tiger and at address. And we've covered a majority of that bush in the background. So again, for those of you, or most of you with 2D out there, that's how you can try to emulate some of the best, or if not all of the best ball strikers in the world. They have that pelvis sway towards the target, generating that power and delivering consistent contact.